This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Well, once again, we are here Friday night, 9:15 in the UK, 8:15 GMT, and it is Friday prime time coming to you, this time from the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in Lexington in the United States. And, well, hello everybody, wherever you are in the world. My name is Paul Smith, and joining me for this week is Nolan Rempel. We'll bring you the conditions up on screen. There's the track then, just 2.2 miles long is this circuit. You've got the air temperature of 29 degrees, track temperature 34 degrees, mostly cloudy in the sky. And well, as always here, we have got the prime time schedule up on screens. As you see, Mid-Ohio this week. Next week it's Monza before we head on over to Lime Rock and Zandvoort. Nearly at the end of the season then into Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, and then Phillip Island rounding off this championship. But to give us a little bit of an insight into this track, it's now time to head on over to Nolan Rempel with this VRS onboard hot lap.
Thank you, Paul. We are riding on board with Martin Kroenke from VRS Coanda Simsport as he comes across the start-finish line to start his flying lap. Going to be on the brakes just past 150 boards for turn number 1. Turn it on in, clip those curbs, run it out. Make sure you clip those exit curbs as well. Big run down to the keyhole, turn number 2. This is, of course, one of the best passing zones on the track. Going to be coming out to the second one real shortly. On the brakes, really working the front end. Make sure the back end doesn't step out as you climb over the crest of the keyhole. Make sure you don't get on the power too early as well. You'll find yourself shooting off into the sand trap. Clipping that DRS zone if you are, of course, an open wheel car. Not in an open wheel car for this case. A little bit of a right-hand kink for turn number 3. And then here comes the best passing zone on the course. Turn number 4, 400, 300, 200. And breaks it in for the corner. Turn number 4. A little bit of a dip in the track before it rises up and over. Turn number 5. Very technical track. Now we're entering the technical stage. Back down the hill for turn number 6. A right-hander before we flick it in for an SS. Turn 7 and 8. Quick left hand. And then dive it back to the right over the hill for turn number 8. Turn 9, right before Thunder Valley. Once again, over a small rise of the track. Very easy to step the back end of the car out as you're getting on the power. Got to use caution. Another kink. Turn number 10. Keep it close to the wall. Turn 11. Dive it on in for turn number 12. Now the carousel. One of the longest corners around the course. Multiple apexes. Swing it in wide before turning in for the final apex. And then rounded off, the lap will be turn number 13. And thank you once again for VRS for giving us this hot lap.
And thank you very much, Nolan, for being thrown in to the deep end with that one. Great hot lap there from Martin Kroenke. And well, Nolan, we've not really worked that much together, but here we are, Friday night prime time, and you're in the Audi RS3 LMS. What are your thoughts on the car, and what are your thoughts on this circuit in particular?
Well, the car itself is definitely a lot different than anything I've ever driven on the sim. You know, front-wheel drive, I think it's the only front-wheel drive car we have on the sim at the moment. So it is very easy. It caught me off guard a little bit, you know, when I got on the power hard and found myself going straight on into the grass. Mid-Ohio, though, it's a very, very technical track. Only really 3 good passing zones. You got the keyhole down to the turn number 2. You got turn 4, and if you're brave enough, you might be able to make a look going into turn number 1.
got the current qualifying lap times up on the left-hand side of your screen. Thomas Gibson at the top of your leaderboard, 0.15 of a second ahead of Kimmo Soimonen, with Jack Sedgwick rounded out the top 3. But the one thing you always note with this particular car is how close the field is in terms of qualifying. Just 7/10 of a second, 7.5 of a second, covering your top 12 here, Nolan.
Yeah, so very, very tight field. Yeah, the top 12 separated by just under 3/4 of a second. Oh my goodness. Of course, you got about just over a 1/10 separating your top 2, Thomas Gibson and Kimmo Suominen. So that'll be interesting to see how the start of this race can play out as qualifying begins to round to a close. I think our field, 15 cars tonight, is just about set.
Yeah, absolutely. So there we go. The clock is counting down to 0, so we will be able to bring you your starting grid very momentarily when my graphics decide to catch up with me. Of course, rolling starts here in the series as always, and it's Thomas Gibson on pole position from UK and Ireland, ahead of Kimmo Soimonen from Finland. Jack Sedgwick and Jamie Fluke rounding out row number 2. Row 3 is Brandon Hawkin with Brian Lockwood. Canada versus United States there, with Victor Gonzalez in 8th ahead of Barry Morrison. 7th for Victor Gonzalez and 8th for Barry Morrison. 9th, Kane Halliburton with Tim Graven in 10th place. Daniel Araujo in 11th with Dominic Oliver in 12th. And then the last few drivers, Josh Thompson, Moritz Lerner and George Simmons. Moritz finally fixing his little connection problem that he was having at home. They discovered it was all down to a light bulb that they'd fitted.
Well, that's something you don't hear every day, is it? You know, connection issues caused by a light fixture in your house. That's a new one for me.
Yeah, I've never heard of that myself either. So we're waiting for everybody to come on to the grid then, and these drivers, they've not got long to grid up, and well, it's a challenge. It's a short start, a short rolling start here as well, so very little time to get heat into those tyres. But the drivers now just waiting for the last 2 to come on to the grid now, and we will be all set for the start of this one. Just waiting for Barry Morrison to get himself onto the grid. So there's that Porsche GT, Porsche 911 Cup car, safety car at the front of the field. Not a lot of work for that Porsche safety car today, because that'll just come through these 3 corners here and then nip on down into pit road before we get going. A lot of drivers will be trying to get a lot of heat into those front tyres very quickly here as we prepare for the start. And it's a start that the pole sitter can get a good jump on. But here we go then, away at the start. Drivers getting as much heat as they possibly can. Won't see too much weaving from the drivers here at this start, because really you've got a bunch of corners to go at. But Thomas Gibson now rounding the carousel, getting these drivers ready for the start, and he'll look to the gantry. The green flag's in the air, away we go. We've got cars running off the track into the last corner, but across the line they go. First and second, nicely through for Core Sim Racing. Rest of your field coming through. You had Sedgwick, Hawkin and Fluke together. In fact, Hawkin coming under pressure from Fluke, then heading into the keyhole for the first time. More side-by-side action behind as well as we go into the keyhole for the first time. Everybody behaving so far here, which is good to see. Number 12 car of Barry Morrison losing out to Kane Halliburton, and Dominic Olivier losing out to Halliburton as well. So the ever fast starting Kane Halliburton working his way through early on in this field. But up at the front, Thomas Gibson leads from his teammate, but there's no team orders in this race, Nolan.
There really are not. We have 1 car off. Victor Gonzalez cutting a little close as he went into turn number 4. Has to yield to Brian Lockwood through 5, and now he's going to dive through 6. Again, very technical section of the track here. This sector's your last 2 sectors. So if you go off at one place, you are going to find yourself being completely swamped by drivers. Poor Gonzalez found that out the hard way. over the hill. Will they make it clean through here? You know, you saw in the start a lot of cones went flying. Everybody was kind of scrambling over the place trying to go for whatever positions they can, because when you're entering this technical section, you really don't have a whole lot of place to overtake anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Gonzalez coming under increasing scrutiny from behind. And that's Tim Graven. Graven's coming under pressure as well from Halliburton. So great start from Halliburton as we're on board with Graven coming across the line in 8th place. Your leader's not really moving about that much up front. Brandon Hawkins has gained 1 position on that first lap, but Graven is up 2 places from where he started in 10th. He's going to look to the inside, into the keyhole, and down the inside he goes. Will he get that move stuck? Yes, he will. A little bit of a barge, a shoulder barge, and Gonzalez goes off, and it's a nightmare for Gonzalez. He's losing even more positions. There goes Halliburton, and here comes Olivier now.
Side by side. You can't even fit a sheet of paper between those 2 cars as Oliveira comes down into turn number 4. They're still side by side. 2 more cars up front. 1 spinning around as well. Barry Morrison taking a slide. Big trouble up front.
Yeah, that's Brian Lockwood. We'll have to get a replay of that. That's a huge incident there at the top of the hill. And Brian Lockwood was the one who really kicked it off there out of all of that. We'll get a replay of this one. Look further back then. So it's Lockwood. We'll look from above. He's on his own here. So there's obviously a car going slow in front. The back end just steps out on him and the car in front as well. So they both go off, and it's this rejoin here. That is not a good rejoin at all. He should have maybe hugged around the corner. Cold tyre still in effect, and it's still a bit more pinball happening on that replay. Wow. That's not the best. Let's move away from that. It has ruined a little bit of a exciting pack that we had developing. But Thomas Gibson, look at that, half a second now ahead of his teammate in Soimonen, with Cedric a further half a second behind Soimonen.
We still have a good battle going on down further back in the field as well. Boris Lautner just going around the outside of Dominic Oliveira into turn number 1, and they had a little bit of contact as well throughout the first corner as well. No doubt that number 9 car going to be looking to pounce on Lautner as they come down at the longest straight on the track, the run down from turn 2 to 4.
Yep, certainly. This is the best opportunity for a slipstream here. Down the straight, of course, these 2 involved in that shenanigans that happened here a lap before, but staying as they are then. So Lerner staying ahead of Olivier. As Gonzalez now trying to make a comeback. This is on Tim Graven. Trying somewhat as he may to gain positions, but it's just not happening for him at all. He's dropped down a number of positions in this race. We'll get a look at that momentarily here. And you can see on the left hand side of the screen, well, he's only lost 1 position as Gonzalez overall in this race. The problem is that Halliburton and Graven have both passed him and made up 3 spots.
Yeah, so that's certainly nothing you want to see. You know, you're kind of sitting still and everybody else is moving their way up. And I don't want to really say this, but I think it is helpful to say that, you know, a lot of those position shuffling did come from that big incident that we had at the top of the hill in turn number 5. And, you know, it was like I was saying in the track guide, you know, it is very easy to step the back ends of the cars out as you come over the hill. And if you get hit as well, there's just no saving the car. You're going to go straight around. And unfortunately, quite a few drivers found it out the hard way in that one.
I certainly did. Looking through your field, and Jack Cedric is just starting to gain on Soimonen ahead of him. So we're going to see time gaining then for Cedric, and in fact he's getting right up behind. So the tyres now at this point in the race are really starting to come to these drivers, and this is where you don't want to push the tyres too early, because you will end up burning out your front tyres and be a sitting duck for the final 10 minutes or so here, Nolan. But right now, Jack Cedric is putting the pressure on Kimmo Soimonen, who's in 2nd place.
Well, I think they do have a little bit of time that they can spare right now to kind of push in the early stages of the race as well. We still have over 20 minutes to go in this race, so we're not even a third of the way through. So I'd say that if you want to push at the start of the race, well, this would be the time to do it. It looks like Cedric is certainly trying to do that, trying to reel in that gap to Soimonen. So your top three still separated by less than a second at the line.
Certainly are. Across the line then they go. And through turn number 1. Heading towards the keyhole. Cedric looking. He's showing his nose here. He's trying to get in the head of Kimmo Soimonen, but right now Soimonen is having none of it. And he's just keeping his line, running his lines as we look back from Soimonen here. And down this back straight. Now Soimonen has lost a little bit of time to his teammate of Gibson ahead. So Kimmo obviously getting a little bit distracted and holding up Cedric just that little bit. And that's allowing Thomas to try and make a breakaway. But Cedric just seems to have that little edge through the slower speed corners.
Seems to have a little bit of an edge that allows him to keep within range of the slipstream when they get around to the faster portions of the track. So that's what's allowing, or that's what's actually keeping Thomas Gibson from, pulling away on that massive lead. He is certainly trying to. You can see a little bit of a gap forming right ahead of these two guys battling, but it won't last long if they keep on, fighting it out with the draft. And eventually, if they reel Gibson back in, it could be a nightmare for Gibson as he tries to hang on to his lead.
Here comes Cedric then. He's putting the pressure on as a cloud has come over, made it extremely dark there out on track. But through turn number 1 then, up over the curb, you want to ride that curb and even hook your left wheels over that curb if you can do it right, as nothing's happening there between those two. But we will look back because Olivier is into pit road. So what has happened to Dominic here? Let's have a look on the replay. Well, it's all fine there. Don't say he's just going to lose it all into the final corner here. Oh, he just dives straight for pit road and then, well, and then loses control in pit road. Oh, that's unfortunate. Let's get that off there. I don't want to show that too much, We've all made embarrassments of coming onto pit road, and unfortunately it was Dominic's turn this time.
I think we've all had that incident where, we've all made a mistake coming onto pit road. You lose the back end out as you're trying to get on the brakes. I've had it happen more than enough in stock car driving, so it's not exactly an uncommon mistake, and it's certainly a very easy one to make. Doesn't make it any less embarrassing, though, as we look back up to your fight for a second.
Don't forget, live timing and scoring is available. Racebot.tv/timing. If you want to keep up to date with everything that's going on in this race, then make sure you check that out. Racebot.tv/timing is up and running and available to everybody, not just Nolan, but to everyone else here who's watching this broadcast as well. There's a little hint for you. You've got timing available from the website, but as we head on up into the keyhole again, no moves being made here at the front, so everybody's just staying as they were as we're coming towards the end of the first 10 minutes.
I think we're at the point now where drivers are going to start settling down, just kind of easing into a little bit of a rhythm of the race. If they can make a look, they will. But at the moment, nobody's really desperate. They're just going to try to conserve tire life, kind of save what they really have for the final 10 minutes as we enter the second third of this race. Just about 5 minutes and 7 seconds away from the halfway point now. Really close to the back end, though, Sedgwick on Soimonen as they came through turns 4 and 5. So still, they are close enough that they could start battling at any given moment.
And you can look at the bottom of the screen there about swapping times during the laps as well. So, Jack gained about 0.19, 0.2 of a second, but then lost 0.13 on the last lap. So swapping times between the two of them. Gibson at the front there, they've sort of reeled him back in here. So it's a little train, and Jamie Flug is actually catching up to the back of these as well. He's on a little bit of a mini charge. Well, they're saying that his last lap was slower than the drivers in front.
He still is within that slipstream, though, so he is definitely close enough that when they do start battling, he's going to be able to close in a big hurry. I think the reason why he's kind of losing time now is because they're just close to each other in front, so they can help each other out more than him, unfortunately. He is a little later on the brace them, so he is still trying to close in that gap. We're going to look down now over to Tom Griven running in the middle of a three-way battle for 7th place now. This has been something that's been heating up over the past couple of laps as well.
Yeah, I just noticed them at the back of a shot when we were looking at the leaders. We'll have to switch between them and the leaders very shortly because Cedric's getting quite close and obviously getting a little bit racy. But yeah, these three, they were getting pretty close through turn 1, so I thought we'd just have a look back, and they're all just steady as they were. I think Gonzalez has finally just calmed down and got into a rhythm now. I think he was just getting a little bit bashed about and not getting in a rhythm earlier on, but now he's into that smoothness and into hitting his marks, and he's certainly doing that as they go over one of the trickiest corners, I think, around this track, where the way that the track just drops away whilst you still try and get the power down, it just forces the car wide.
That is something very unique about the Mid-Ohio Sports Car course, is just all the different corners where the track just completely falls away from you and then comes back to you in the very next complex, as you saw Gonzalez taking a bit of a wider line through the carousel. So he did get a better drive off coming through turn, I think it's 14 is the final corner, but did not, sorry, it's 13. My mistake there, but Griven making another look into turn number 1, so these 3 cars getting a little bit more racy now.
Yes, Arajo now looking as well. He's looking busy, but we're going to go to the front now because these 3, they've still got that gap back between them and Fluke. But Cedric, this is where Cedric gets really close to the 2 cars in front. And this is just where he seems to have that little bit of an edge. You see the 2 core sim racing cars in front of Cedric right now. And this is such a tricky part of the track. You've got to get the power down, but at the same point, you don't want to spin up those tyres or else it'll push you wide through the corners and you'll end up compromising your next 2, 3, even 4 corners here in this section.
It is very much a rhythm section. You know, one corner flows into the next, which flows into the next. So if you're offline for one of them, you're just about going to be offline for all of them in reality. So it is what makes this track so incredibly challenging, and it is why a lot of drivers, you know, like the track and also hate the track at the exact same time. So it can be a very love-hate relationship in this track, as I've found out.
I'll tell you what, you talk about a rhythm section. If this was a three-person band, then you'd have the lead singer in Thomas Gibson, you'd have the bass player in Kimo Soimonen, and you'd have the drummer there in Sedgwick, and well, here comes the tambourine player coming up behind, which is Jamie Fluke. He's trying to get involved in this one, and yes, I really did just say that on a live broadcast. It is ridiculous, but I don't care. This is what you get as we head on in towards the halfway point of this race, and these drivers, as you mentioned, just having to just stay as they are. We'll bring up the top 8 on the screen so you can see 1.1 seconds now covering the top 4 here as they come through the this particular section of corners. And then you've got Brandon Hawkin and Kane Halliburton. They're pretty close together in 5th and 6th place, with Victor Gonzalez, Tim Graven in 7th and 8th places. So that's your standings, your top 8 standings as you go along. Thomas Gibson, I have noticed at the front of the field, has been running a little bit wide through some of these corners on this lap. Looks a little bit untidy, but someone who isn't untidy right now is Jamie Fluke. He's on a mission. He's caught right up to the back of Jack Sedgwick.
Well, I did look back, and apparently the reason why he caught Sedgwick so fast is because I believe going right through turn number 8, running down to turn number 9, he got on the curb, Sedgwick, and the back end twitched just a little bit. Had to take a bit of a wider line, so it is very easy to unsettle the car, especially, you know, these cars, as we've said, they are front-wheel drive, so you can't get on the power too hard, and when you're lifting off and the car's already unstable, it can just completely come around you. That almost happened for Sedgwick. He did manage to gather it back up, though, and just barely keep in front.
Of course, you are watching Friday Night Prime Time from Racebot TV, broadcasting here on the iRacing Esports Network on YouTube and Twitch. Paul Smith, Nolan Rempel in the commentary booth here for you. And before this race, I was flicking around for Twitch, and I noticed that Jamie Fluke was actually streaming his point of view for this race. So, you know, get him on a multi-channel screen and get ourselves on screen, and also Jamie get his point of view as well. But I was listening in whilst I was setting up for this, and I did overhear Jamie saying that he's hoping that his tyres with his setup are going to be better in the second half of the race. So if anything, this is the time when we need to start looking at Jamie's pace and see whether that setup compromise and how he drives around here pays off.
He has been closing in this entire race, and now he's right on these guys. So I think we can safely clarify this as a bit of a lengthy 4-car fight for first. It is beginning to split up a little bit more in front as Gibbs continues to try to pull his lead a little bit more. But Fluke has effectively joined this 4-car group here as they again try to run down towards the keyhole. Still not really any moves being made. We're just past the halfway point now, about 2 minutes through, so still plenty of time left for these drivers to make a move. And you read my mind as we look back to the battle for 7th with Gonzalez.
Yes, Gonzalez there had an eventful race so far. He takes a little bit of different lines compared to the others. He's trying to get the run out of the corner through the keyhole, which does maybe open him up slightly to Graven for the entry into the keyhole. But Graven now, we're on board, and he's just backing out of that. He's not wanting to make a move yet. I have a funny feeling that Graven realises that the 7.5, nearly 8 seconds in front of them, they're not going to catch the guys in front. Maybe look after the tyres, sit behind, and wait this one out, and then go for it, pounce in the last 10 minutes or so.
Well, it's a good idea to do that. And, it is something that we've kind of been seeing all over the place. We've seen even, further up front, Jack Sedgwick, he's been close enough to make moves on Kimmo Soiman in, but he just hasn't made them. So it is something you want to do, kind of conserve the tires when you're earlier on into a stint, especially, when you're in a race where you shouldn't be needing to pit, such as, these short 30-minute races. So it is a very good strategy to try to conserve the tire as much as you can, especially since it seems that Gonzalez is trying to do whatever he can to try to pull a gap on these guys, maybe not conserving his tires as much as Graven is.
And it's a very, as you mentioned, very technical in parts track is this. A few slower corners, and when you get a front-wheel drive car with multiple corners and slow, hard braking through a slow corner and then having to get on the accelerator whilst turning, which is what they have to do on a lot of these corners, that really does affect the front wheels and the front tyres. So tyre life is an issue as they head on down this back straightaway, where the Indy cars actually have the start line is just along there. That's why you have a start gantry up at the side of the track there, down into this turn there. And still these three staying together up at the front. I don't think you're going to see any craziness from the front, although Soiminen running wide there. That's going to cost him a 10th or so of time, and he's got to be careful with that. But I don't think you're going to see the two leaders battling too much, just purely because they are teammates. But if they do battle, they'll try and keep it clean.
They do, and the one thing about trying to keep a battle for the lead clean is that it often means you're going through the corners a lot slower than you would if you're trying to be aggressive, which could be what Jack Sedgwick is waiting for, because like you said earlier in the broadcast, there are no team orders in this. This is not a big World Championship series, so it is very possible that those two teammates could start battling pretty hard in the later stages of the race, or we're actually closing into the last 10 minutes of the race now, as our minute count is going to hit double digits here in just a few, or single digits, excuse me, just a few seconds. But it is possible they could start battling, which could be exactly what Sedgwick is waiting for.
Certainly is. As they go down the back straight again, you can see those lap times down there in the bottom right hand corner of your screen, and you can see especially underneath lap 11, lap 12, there you go, they're circled. Sedgwick has been quicker throughout this last couple of laps, so now he's getting onto the boot lid of the car in front, and he's wanting to put the pressure on, keep the pressure on Soiminen, and really start to make some money moves. But right now, around this track, we've seen it time and again in previous events, that overtaking is extremely difficult, and you almost have to pressure a mistake from the car in front.
And we saw that earlier on in the race as well. You know, when the tires were still a little colder, drivers were still battling very hard for position. Especially, one interesting thing is to note that a lot of our major incidents where we saw cars running off the track was at turn 4. It has always been turn 4, and you know, coming back onto the track has been the issue, especially with our bigger incident earlier on in the day. That happened in turn 5 when they were rejoining the track. So it is possible to see, you know, maybe some moves we made into turn 4, and maybe that's where more mistakes will come through. That little complex, it is notorious for having, you know, quite a few incidents in it.
Well, we're heading out the keyhole once again, and Cedric now right up behind Simon. He's putting the pressure on. Is this the time where he actually makes a move? Well, he's looking to the inside, and Simon's not going to defend this one. Down the inside he goes. Is he going to make it stick? Well, Simon knows that he's got the inside for this left-hander. Gets the shoulders out. It's a bit of a shoulder badge. Well, if anybody could do that, Jack Cedric could do that. I know that from experience of racing against Jack. But through goes Cedric then. That is the perfect move for him. He was waiting for the opportunity, and he makes it count. And Fluke now is all over the back of Simon.
Oh, this is going to get interesting here in a few minutes. Gibson continuing to pull away from these guys as they were duking it out. Meanwhile, Jamie Fluke, like you said, he's right behind these guys as they enter the carousel, might try to make something look here on the front straightaway. Everybody kind of taking different lines as they come through turn number 12, then off of your final corner, turn 13. Cedric seems to have second place down for now. A little bit of contact, but it just shows you the aggression is beginning to ramp up here amongst all the drivers in this little pack.
Yeah, and this is what we see week in, week out in the series. You get that lull mid-race here on the Friday prime time, and then all of a sudden things it's like a light just gets lit underneath these guys, and it just seems to explode into action. As looking further back, Graven now, he's getting a bit busy further behind, looking at Victor Gonzalez, looking to the outside into the keyhole. Not going to make any moves there, but he's putting the pressure on now. So all of a sudden, multiple drivers making moves. And speaking of making moves, Fluke looking to the outside. He can hold the line there. No, he can't. He's not quite got the overlap there. He'll have to just be patient. Still side by side, coming through the left into the right, but he's not got the higher ground there, so has to just hold back in 4th place.
I was holding my breath. I thought at first he might wipe Soymanen out into the turn 6 tires for a minute as they were coming down the hill. So it is getting very, very close, very tight between these drivers and Fluke. You know, he is a world championship driver. He runs in the Porsche Esports Series. So Jamie Fluke, he is of course a driver that is quite experienced with road course racing, and he's no doubt looking to get a podium finish here today.
He's used to close pack racing, especially around here, because one of the early rounds of the Porsche Esports Super Cup was right here at Mid-Ohio, in towards turn number 1, and Fluke is all over the back there. A Soymanen can't get the run out of turn 1 in towards 2. Looks to the inside. It's not happening there, Jamie. Get the run out the corner and make the move. Gibson's got a 7/10 lead over Jack Cedric in 2nd place, but it's this battle that we're focusing on right now as they head on down the back straightaway once again through that little kink. That's turn number 3 as we're heading towards 4 now. Looking to the inside is Fluke. Does Simon know that Fluke has the pace and just thinking a bigger picture here? Fluke to the inside. Will he hold the outside like Cedric did? No, he doesn't. He doesn't hold the outside there through the left, and that means Simon holds on.
It is getting very, very close, and it seems to be, just like we were talking about, the best passing zone is going into turn number 4. Speak of the devil, here is Tim Greven trying to push around the outside of Victor Gonzalez into turn 5. He has the line into turn 6, but Gonzalez still has the line at 7, and now through 8 as they go through the S's, and there you have it. Tim Greven up into 7th place. Gonzalez, though, he's trying to get the cutback as they come down through Thunder Valley, down to turn number 10. There's no way they're more than 3/10 apart, all of these cars.
You're right. There's 0.2 of a second between the 3 of them. Greven runs a bit wide. That's going to give Gonzalez the opportunity to get the place back, but he's got the inside for the carousel. This is incredible, and all of this is slowing each other down, and that's allowing Josh Thompson, who's loitering in the background about a second behind them. You see him in the back of shot there, the black car. These three are slowing each other down. That's giving Josh Thompson the opportunity. Thompson, who started in 13th, so he's been gaining positions in this race. All of a sudden, he's got an opportunity of 3 spots ahead of him if these three decide to have a bit of shenanigans and knock 7 bells out of each other. But it's Gonzalez now under pressure. Graven's making a little bit of a play away from these two, and Daniel behind in the car 14. Putting the pressure on Gonzalez, but now Gonzalez with the slipstream trying to make the move here on Graven as they head on into the right-hander.
Oh, he just about got there as well, but you know, Graven cut him off right as they entered through turn 4, so that caused you know, Gonzalez to have to check up a little bit as they entered 4, and that in turn checked up Daniel in the number 14 machine, as everything is really beginning to kick off here in this battle for 7th. And of course, you know, we just talked about Josh Thompson. He's looking to get into this battle if they check up each other, or if they even turn each other. Lawrence Lautner could pounce and get another few spots as well. Is Gonzalez trying to bump draft Tim Graven as they came in through turn 11?
Well, if he is, then that's either mighty brave or mighty stupid. I don't know which, or maybe it's a little from column A and a little from column B. But anyway, through the final 2 turns they go then across the line. Time is running out. 2 minutes 40 remaining in this race. Your leader is now just half a second ahead of Sedgwick. So Sedgwick has gained just slightly by a 1/10.5 on your race leader. So it'll be worth keeping an eye on that coming in towards the last lap of the race in very short time. Gonzalez trying to make the move. Aruja, making moves as well. I think it just all seems like they're slowing each other up here, Nolan.
That certainly seems to be the case, but you know, they know that there's no way they're going to be able to catch Halliburton or Hawken, who are fighting it out for 6th as well, but they know there's no way they're going to catch them, so they're just trying to go for whatever spots they can, as Daniel Areo tries to make a look into turn number 4. Gonzalez going around the outside of turn 5. Interesting line taken by Gonzalez there, but he still has the optimal line for turn 6. Everybody's trying to swap back and forth, trying to get the optimal line, get switchbacks throughout every corner on this circuit.
Certainly are. Time is getting close. I think we're going to actually get 2 more laps here because the leaders crossed the line with 28 minutes and 26 seconds. It's about a 1 minute 29 lap around here, so we will get another lap at the end of this one. And the battle for 3rd place isn't over yet because Fluke, he's involved with Soimonen again. They're both battling it out for that 3rd spot, the final position on the podium. And Fluke, he's been stuck behind Simon, and they've dropped back 1.6 seconds from Sedgwick now. So really, Fluke is desperate to make a move and get past to at least get on the podium.
Yeah, and unless, you know, your top 2, Sedgwick and Gibson, start to battle, which is looking more and more unlikely, it is looking like this will be the highest battle up in the field will be for 3rd place. Soimonen taking a bit of a wider line as they exit through 5. Keeps it in very tight through turn 5, and Jamie Fluke tried to look around the outside to pounce going into 6, but didn't manage to make that work. He's going to have to get back in line, use the slipstream down through the run down to turn 1, and maybe try to get him coming into the keyhole.
And look at Josh Thompson making moves then. Aruja losing out to Thompson, so all of a sudden 9th place for Josh. He's a keen karter, is Josh Thompson, and he's certainly putting the effort in and putting in some karting moves there. He's not shy in coming forward, I could tell you that from experience as well. This is going to be the start of the final lap then for Thomas Gibson across the line in the lead of this race, ahead of Jack Sedgwick. And Sedgwick now, he is close. Is he close enough to make any moves? We'll have to look. Gibson runs wide, so too does Sedgwick as they head on in to the keyhole for the final time in this race. Onto the brakes they go. Sedgwick closing up. Get on the power, up over the curb. Get the slipstream. Gibson just pulling away slightly. That's the little concertina effect happening in reverse as they accelerate away. Now the slipstream is coming into effect. Gibson, which way is he going to go? Is he staying left or is he going right? He's going to the middle of the track. He's left Sedgwick no room there, and that's absolutely perfect. Sedgwick, he's right on the back bumper of your race leader as they come around now into this technical section, and really the the opportunities have dried up here for Sedgwick. Sedgwick has got to keep the pressure on here though, try and force the error from Thomas Gibson in the lead, and whether he could do that we'll have to wait and see as they're coming towards the end of the lap here. Time's running out. Well, time has run out, and the corners are running out for Jack Sedgwick. Will he make a lunge in towards the carousel? He's looking, but it's not going to pay off. So it's going to be around the final corner. All he has to do is get on the power, get out the corner, and it's going to be a win for Thomas Gibson across the line here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. What a fantastic drive from Thomas Gibson. Lights to flag with the victory there. Battling still going on further down here though, Nolan.
And Victor Gonzalez, can he get on the power as they exit turn 12 to 13? The answer is going to be no, he can't. So Tim Griffin hangs on to 7th place. Gonzalez has to settle for 8th. Thompson finishing at 9th. Rounding off your top 10 will be Daniel Arrero. And oh my goodness, Gonzalez just went full on into turn number 1.
Well, that's one way of doing it. As the rest of your field comes across the line then to finish this one, we will be able to bring you your race results then. And it is Thomas Gibson from the UK and Ireland taking it to the win. Lights to flag, as I mentioned, they're ahead of Jack Sedgwick in 2nd place. Those two managed to pull away a decent gap back to Kima Simon in 3rd, who rounds out the podium. Jamie Fluke 4th. Brandon Hawkin in 5th place. The Canadian will be happy about that result ahead of Kane Halliburton in 6th. Tim Graven we saw battling away with Victor Gonzalez for a long time. They're 7th and 8th, with Josh Thompson 9th and Daniel Araja in 10th place. 11th for Moritz Lerner with George Simmons 12th, 13th for Barry Morrison, and then your two drivers who did not finish, Dominic Olivier with the interesting pit entry, and Brian Lockwood, who decided to go a little bit 10-pin bowling at the start of this race. So that is your field there on screen. We're going to step aside for just one moment here as we will bring you the post-race show coming up after this one advert. So make sure you stick around and get our thoughts and hopefully a couple of the drivers' thoughts of how they went in that race. Stick around, we'll be right back. Well, what a race that was. A little bit of a different race compared to the last couple of weeks. A bit more of a methodical, thought-out race here, but it was a race that was so expertly won by Thomas Gibson. We'll bring up the top 10 results here on screen. Paul Smith and Nolan Rempel then here with the post-race show. And then Nolan, I mean, welcome to Friday Prime Time, and what were your thoughts then on the action there, not just at the front, but all the way through the field?
Well, first off, yes, it was a very methodical race, but it is at the same time a very methodical track, and you have a feeling that when you go to tracks like Monza, it's going to be a lot more focused on the draft. Everybody's going to be much more tightly packed together, but the racing action, despite being a methodical race, yes, still exciting from start to finish. Everybody was always incredibly close to each other in their own respective areas on the track. Definitely, you can't really ask for more than that in a touring car race with just 15 cars on the grid.
Well, yeah, I mean, there was 15 cars on the grid, but you got some proper touring car action as well. A little bit of door banging, mirrors, getting hit as well. But all in all, generally, really clean racing out there today from them.
Yes, there were some surprising moments where I could have sworn, there's no way they're going to make it. So many of our attempted overtakes through the turn 4 or 5 complex, for example, there were so many cases through there. I was thinking there's absolutely no way they're going to be able to make it through that clean. But sure enough, they did so. Incredibly respectful driving, very clean driving, and it's, of course, that is the sort of racing that we want to see, here on the service. Very aggressive, but very clean at the exact same time.
Well, we've mentioned about the schedule. We'll bring it up again, because we did mention it at the start of the broadcast. But there we go. We've just had Mid-Ohio there. The next time out for the primetime schedule is going to be that, as you mentioned, Autodromo Nacional Monza. I mean, Slipstream is going to have a massive effect, not just there, but later on at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park and also Phillip Island. Those are 3 draft tracks right there.
Yeah, very much so, especially Monza, though, with its notoriously long straight. You run, I think, over 3/4 of the lap, completely flat out, especially in a touring car, so it's going to be something, to say the least. We might see, all sorts of drafting action like you see in NASCAR at tracks like Daytona or Talladega, even, for crying out loud, because the straights are so long. I don't know if they're going to be using the Grand Prix layout, of course, but then can you just imagine what it would look like if they were using one of those non-chicane layouts?
Oh, it's absolute madness, I can tell you that as well from experience. Lime Rock, though, and Circuit Park Zandvoort, those are going to be a little bit more like this, aren't they? Especially on Lime Rock. There's only, one left turn at Lime Rock Park, and you have to make it count, really. So it's a track that you can go side by side pretty much the whole lap.
It really is, Lime Rock Park with turn 2, again, being the only left-hand corner. It's a very technical track in its own right. Lots of elevation change, lots of very sudden elevation change, especially coming down to the final corner. The run you have to get out of that corner is going to be absolutely critical. And in the LMS, it's not going to be very easy to, get the good run that you need. There's going to be a lot of practice, no doubt, going in for Lime Rock Park. And I'm sure it'll provide just as exciting of a race as we saw today.
Well, just closing thoughts then, Nolan. What did you make of that today, then?
10 out of 10. Would recommend.
Well, there you go. So that was the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. And, well, we've just got a couple of people to thank as well. It's not actually iRacing.com who's provided the cameras. That is trackcams22.com who's provided the cameras. I must go and tell off the person who produced this. Oh, wait, that was me who didn't update the graphics there. But, yes, Isfan Ballo, thank you very much for the track cameras. Trackcams22.com, make sure you check them out. Of course, I have been Paul Smith. Alongside me, joining me, normally it's Connery, but Nolan Rempel, thank you very much for joining us this week. And well, on to next week, the Friday prime time. But of course, that is not all the action here on iRacing on the eSports Network, because tomorrow night in the UK, it is, of course, the iRacing Thrustmaster Rallycross World Championship Series. It's going to be absolutely fantastic action. It's been absolutely epic racing all the way through this championship, so make sure you check that one out. It's going to be across YouTube, Twitch and Facebook on the iRacing Esports Network, so make sure you join us for that. It's going to be absolutely fantastic action as always, and who knows, we might get another race winner here this time out. So make sure you join Randy Cheneth and Jonathan Simon for all the action from there. But that's all for today. Thank you very much, everybody. And until next week on Friday Prime Time, it's good night.